I'd like to call the meeting of the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment, June the 2nd, to order. One little housekeeping item. If you've got any kind of electronic device, your phones, please turn them off, please, or turn them to silent. And the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for May the 5th, 2011.
So moved.
Here's a second. Motion and a second, and I believe I was absent on that one. All those in favor? We've got some lights on that shouldn't be on. Okay, it's approved. And the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for May the 19th.
So moved. Approval. Second.
With a motion and a second, all those in favor? We're still, okay, we need one more vote. Okay, there we go. Those are approved. Do we have any continuances or any requests for continuance?
None today.
Okay. We'll go to the first item on the agenda.
Item 1, case 13-410, request of Mark Bilyeu for variance to permit a 4-foot 6-inch fence in the front yard of the AA district located at 18,000 Northeast 192nd Street.
Good afternoon. David Box, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. Also with me is Mark Bilyeu, who's the applicant. What we're wanting to do today is construct a fence at 54 inches tall. The code would allow 48. We're on State Highway 66, and this area is rural, and it's unique in that it's a state highway. And the 6 extra inches is actually the ODOT approved fence for state highways. That's what their engineering department has deemed safe and suitable for state highways. When you get into these rural areas, the taller fence allows extra security for livestock, animals getting over the fence and causing a potential problem on the traveling public. So we feel that this is appropriate, and this is only concerning the front yard, so just the State Highway 66 frontage. We feel that this is appropriate and will add to the safety of the area and the traveling public. The staff has found no unfavorables, and I'm here to answer any questions and would ask for your approval.
Any questions?
Is there an access issue here? The fence create an access issue?
No, sir. There is a separate issue that Dr. Dawson has filed a letter of some sort of protest, but it does not concern what we're seeking today, and that's just a variance request to the height requirement. There's a separate issue. There's several separate issues that have nothing to do with our application, and my client has agreed to meet with Dr. Dawson to address the separate issues, but none of those concern the height variance that we're seeking in this application.
Okay.
Dawson up to this date?
We've communicated with his attorney, and we have agreed to sit down with him after today and hash out any issues that they may have.
What kind of a fence? I know it says woven wire. Is that a chain link fence, or is it a hog wire fence? What kind of fence are we? Hog wire? If you wouldn't mind, if you would come up and let us know your name.
Mark Bilyeu, 3800 Shiloh Forest in Edmond. Yes, sir, it is a woven wire fence, often referred to as a hog wire, where it's, you have small rectangular boxes topped off with three strands of barbed wire at the top to secure to make out the, I believe, 54 inches, to round it out.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? I do have a request from Mr. Dawson. If you would come up and give us your name and address, please.
I've got one additional letter to pass out.
May I address, although I am not a speaker right now on the application,
if you would go to that microphone, sir.
My name is David Necco. I am the attorney with Dr. Dawson, and that basically what Mr. Box has said is correct. We are going to try to get together.
Okay, so you're going to speak for...
No, I'm going to let Dr. Dawson speak for his position at this moment in time, but I'm saying I want to reiterate that we are intending to get together to try to work out all of our grievances.
Okay. Would you give us your address for the record, please?
Yes, sir. 10802 Quail Plaza Drive, Oklahoma City, and I forgot the zip code. I can give you my telephone number.
That's all right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And Dr. Dawson, would you give us your...
Yeah, my name is Richard Dawson. My office address is 4805 Southwestern Avenue, Oklahoma City. My home address, I think you have. In speaking for this, I'm a little confused because when I wondered what the front of a property was, I always thought, well, sure, it is a major highway, Highway 66. But the fact of the matter here is that Mr. Bilyeu has a structure in the center of his property which has a road to it which goes down to Peebly Road. So one of the questions that we need to know is where in fact is the front of his property, because that determines the fence height. And there are a lot of other city regulations which I've discussed with the city attorney, that there are many other issues here. And what I wanted to try and avoid, and I know that this is not about the other issues, okay, but what I wanted to try and avoid here is a lawsuit. So
Let me the only issue we have here is a 6-inch, a 52-inch fence, 54-inch fence over a 48-inch fence. That's the only issue we are concerned with here today.
Mr. Bilyeu, without a permit, has already put the corner posts in, which are 58 inches tall. Now, whether that makes any difference or not, we can discuss. But the fact of the matter is that I'm not sure where the front of his property is. Now, if you declare that it's 66, well, that's fine. But then what about all the other evidence, like where the road from his structure is that comes down to a private drive now, Peebly Road, which was closed, even though I have a mile on Peebly Road, and two-thirds of that, I own property on both sides of it. When the county went through this, I was never notified. Now, Mr. Bilyeu, even though he's my neighbor, even though I'm the only other person, never told me that this was happening. So, of course, I missed the little thing in the Journal Record in there, whatever day it was that he put it in the Journal Record. And we have some very significant. So part of the issue with regard to the fence is that since it's an ODOT fence, and since the fence all along Highway 66 are not ODOT fences, and since in the application Mr. Bilyeu used Mr. Aubrey McClendon's tree farm as an example of fence height, I felt that that was inappropriate. But I'm trying to get along with my neighbor.
If you will address us, not them.
All right.
Address
Trying to get along with my neighbor, Mark Bilyeu. So if he wants to build, if he wants that height, okay, I'm not going to argue with that. And hopefully that we can work something else out of highly significant issues, like no access to my property. And so you can just...
This has been an ongoing issue. Have y'all not tried to get together?
I wrote Mr. Bilyeu a letter in February asking him to get together with me. I received no response.
Okay.
And it's only when I filed all the information which you all have up there now with regard to if in fact the front of the property is the road that comes down to the private road now, Peebly Road, then there are a whole series of city ordinances which have to be complied with.
You know,
any questions?
well, I can tell we're not, this isn't the issue of whether or not we're giving him some right to build a fence. He's either got the right to build a fence or not under the ordinance. Is that right? The question before us is whether or not he can make it 6 inches taller. So you have a whole bunch of issues here that have nothing to do with this application.
Well, where is the fence?
Huh?
Where is the fence?
No, I don't know. We're not deciding where the fence is. The building permit department is deciding that. We're only talking about whether or not it's 6 inches taller.
I want my neighbor to have the fence
Sir,
that he
again,
wants.
please address us.
I want my neighbor to have the fence that he wants.
So what's your objection to it being 6 inches taller?
I wasn't going to go through all these, all my objections, so I was just going to say, okay, let him have it.
Move approval.
We want to try and be able to negotiate future rather than fight.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor.
I'm so moved on case number 13410.
Okay, and we got a second. All those in favor? Motion carried. Okay, item number 2.
Item 2, case number 13418, request of Paul Day for a variance to permit a residential building exceeding the maximum square footage and overhead door height located at 9309 Northwest 99th Circle.
Your name and address, please, sir.
I'm Paul Day, 9309 Northwest 99th Circle. And my wife and I bought this property with the idea of building an RV garage on it a year and a half ago. And then it came up with all these problems just because it was just shy of a half acre. And if it had been a half acre, none of this would have required a variance. In the development, there are other properties on one side, 2 down, on the other side, 2 down, that are a full half acre or more, and variance wouldn't be required. But our plans are to put it at the back of our lot, which is at the back of the development, so it would be unobtrusive as possible.
Any questions?
Is there any opposition from any of your neighbors? Have they raised any objections?
No, sir.
Any other questions?
Move to approve the application.
Got a motion to approve. Do I hear a second? And a motion and a second to approve item number 2. All those in favor? You're approved, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Item number 3.
Case number 13419, request of J.W. Mashburn for a variance to permit a residence encroaching a platted 15-foot side building line located at 8500 Northwest 112th Terrace.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Norman Turner. I'm with J.W. Mashburn Homes. Address is 8520 South Penn, Oklahoma City, 73125. We're here today to ask you to grant us a variance on a home we had constructed that encroached into the building line. I believe it was 1 foot, 0.3 inches.
Can't you just put a bulldozer on that and shove it over there?
I don't think the homeowner would be too thrilled about that.
Move approval.
What we think happened is my foundation contractor, we squared off of the west property line without realizing that Tremont Lane slowly starts to taper back in.
Yep.
And in 24 years, this is my first one I've ever had happen, so this is my first time to ever have to ask you for one.
Pretty good.
We got a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Thank you, folks. Have a good afternoon.
I guess the next item on the agenda is election of a new chairman, not a re-election of a chairman.
Yeah.
We need a nomination for a chairman. And I've served my chair.
You did? Full year?
Huh? Well, pretty close.
Huh? He won't take it. So it's between you guys over there.
You won't? Sir?
No.
No.
And you're expressing your unwillingness. It's
you
between
guys
us?
over there. Huh?
Are you saying it's between Mark and I?
You have seniority.
What's the term of the chairmanship? 1 year? So essentially till I rotate
1
off.
year. Okay, so you were the elect.
He was the vice chair
He was the vice chair.
that filled in,
Right.
but the bylaws read that it's just open to nomination every year.
So were we elected a chair and a vice chair?
Yes.
Right.
Chair and Vice Chair, yes.
For the purpose of the record, I'll nominate Jeff Austin as chair.
Okay, got a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right.
I nominate Mark Stonecipher as vice chair.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? You're vice chair. I guess that's as of next meeting?
Yes.
That's right next to my birthday, and I've got a daughter getting married the week before. I may be
Motion to
absent.
adjourn. Yeah, that's right. Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? We're adjourned.
Okay.